Ladies and gentlemen, relationships are complex, yet at their core, they are built on a few simple but powerful truths. Today, I want to talk about something that is often overlooked, something that most women rarely do but is deeply desired by men. It's not about grand gestures or extravagant expressions of love. It's about something far more fundamental: genuine admiration and appreciation. Many women express love through care, through nurturing, through being present. These are beautiful and essential aspects of a relationship. But what men often crave and rarely receive is pure, unfiltered admiration. Not just gratitude for what they do, but respect for who they are. Men want to feel like they are valued, not just as providers, not just as partners, but as individuals with strengths, dreams, and struggles. Too often, they move through life fulfilling expectations, taking on responsibilities, and carrying burdens silently. And yet, beneath that exterior, they long for the same thing anyone does: to be seen, to be appreciated, and to feel like they matter. A simple, sincere acknowledgement of a man's efforts can mean more than any material gift. When a woman recognizes his strength, his intelligence, his dedication, when she tells him, "I admire you, I believe in you," or "I respect what you do," it can be life-changing. It fuels his motivation, deepens his love, and strengthens the bond between them. This is not about flattery. It's not about blindly praising. It's about recognizing the good in someone and making them feel valued for it. It's about understanding that admiration is not a one-way street in a relationship. Just as women desire deep emotional connection and affection, men crave respect and appreciation. Unfortunately, many women assume that love alone is enough. But love without admiration can sometimes feel empty. A man who feels admired will move mountains for the woman he loves. A man who feels unnoticed may quietly withdraw, no matter how much he cares. So to those who truly want to build strong, fulfilling relationships, take a moment to reflect. When was the last time you told the man in your life that you are proud of him, that you trust his judgment, that you see his strength? If more women understood this simple truth, relationships would be stronger, more resilient, and more fulfilling for both partners. Because at the end of the day, love is not just about giving. It's about understanding what the other person truly needs. Men deeply crave admiration and appreciation, not just love or care. They want to feel valued for who they are, not just for what they provide. This is one of the most overlooked aspects of relationships, and yet it holds incredible power in shaping the dynamic between men and women. From a young age, men are conditioned to be providers, protectors, and problem solvers. Society often places expectations on them to be strong, resilient, and capable, regardless of what they might be feeling inside. While this sense of responsibility can be a source of pride, it can also become a burden when they feel unrecognized or taken for granted. Many men silently navigate life, doing what is expected of them without complaint, believing that their efforts should speak for themselves. However, deep down, they still long for acknowledgement. Unlike women, who are often more open about their need for emotional connection and verbal affirmation, men may not always express their desire for admiration in words. This doesn't mean they don't crave it. It simply means that when they don't receive it, they're less likely to openly ask for it. Instead, they may withdraw emotionally, lose motivation, or even become indifferent in a relationship. A man who does not feel valued may begin to feel like he is merely fulfilling a role rather than being seen as an individual with his own aspirations, struggles, and strengths. Admiration is not about feeding a man's ego with empty flattery. It is about recognizing the good in him and making him feel valued for the qualities he brings to the relationship and to life in general. When a man hears genuine words of appreciation, whether for his work ethic, his sense of responsibility, his ability to solve problems, or simply for being someone his partner can rely on, it reinforces his sense of purpose. It tells him that his efforts are seen, that they matter, and that he is respected, not just for what he does, but for who he is. For many men, admiration is deeply linked to respect. They want to feel that their partner believes in them, trusts their decisions, and appreciates their strengths. This does not mean blind submission or overlooking their flaws. Rather, it means showing that their qualities and efforts are valued. Something as simple as saying, "I trust your judgment," or "I admire the way you handle difficult situations," can have a profound impact. These words communicate that their presence and contributions are meaningful, which strengthens the emotional connection in the relationship. One of the biggest mistakes in relationships is assuming that men do not need emotional support in the same way that women do. While their needs may be expressed differently, they are just as real. A man who feels admired by his partner will often be more open, more affectionate, and more willing to invest in the relationship because he knows he is valued. Conversely, when admiration is absent, he may feel disconnected, unappreciated, and even resentful over time. Many women naturally express their love through care, nurturing, and emotional connection, but they may not realize that admiration is one of the most powerful ways to make a man feel truly loved. A woman who takes the time to acknowledge her partner's strengths, to express her respect for him, and to show appreciation for his efforts will often find that he becomes even more devoted, attentive, and motivated to contribute to the relationship. In the end, admiration is not about putting a man on a pedestal or overlooking his shortcomings. It is about recognizing and valuing him for who he is. It is about seeing beyond the daily routines and responsibilities and appreciating the person behind them. When admiration is present in a relationship, it creates a foundation of mutual respect and emotional security, allowing both partners to thrive together. Respect and recognition fuel a man's motivation and strengthen his emotional bond in a relationship. Simple words of acknowledgement can have a profound impact. Men are naturally driven by a sense of purpose. They often define themselves by their ability to contribute, protect, and succeed in different areas of life, whether in their careers, relationships, or personal goals. This drive is not just about external achievement. It is deeply connected to their emotional well-being. When a man feels that his efforts are noticed and appreciated, it reinforces his sense of identity and gives him a reason to keep pushing forward. However, when his actions go unrecognized, it can lead to frustration, discouragement, and even withdrawal from the relationship. Many men do not openly seek validation, but that does not mean they do not need it. Unlike women, who are generally more expressive about their emotions and the need for verbal affirmation, men often communicate their love through actions, through hard work, problem solving, and providing stability. While they may not explicitly say, "I need to be appreciated," their behavior often reflects this unspoken desire. A man who feels respected and valued by his partner will naturally feel more secure, more connected, and more motivated to invest in the relationship. One of the most powerful ways to reinforce a man's motivation is through sincere recognition. This does not mean praising every little thing he does, nor does it mean ignoring his flaws. True recognition comes from genuinely appreciating his strengths, efforts, and contributions. A simple statement like, "I see how hard you're working and I really admire your dedication," or "I love how you always find a way to handle tough situations," can have a lasting impact. These words do more than just boost his confidence. They reinforce his sense of purpose and deepen his emotional connection to the relationship. Respect is also a critical component of this dynamic. A man who feels that his opinions, decisions, and contributions are valued will naturally feel more engaged and committed. He will be more likely to communicate openly, support his partner, and put in the effort to make the relationship work. Conversely, when a man feels dismissed, unappreciated, or constantly criticized, he may begin to distance himself emotionally. This is not because he no longer cares, but because he feels that his presence is no longer meaningful. A common misconception is that men are solely motivated by physical attraction or external rewards. While these factors play a role, they are not the foundation of long-term emotional fulfillment. A man who feels genuinely respected and admired will naturally feel more inclined to be affectionate, attentive, and committed. His desire to provide and protect is not just about fulfilling a role. It becomes an extension of his deep emotional connection to his partner. In many relationships, admiration and appreciation fade over time. In the early stages, partners often express their admiration openly, praising each other's qualities and celebrating each other's strengths. However, as time goes on, these expressions can become less frequent, leading to a sense of emotional distance. Making a conscious effort to acknowledge and appreciate a man's efforts can reignite his motivation and strengthen the bond between partners. Ultimately, respect and recognition are not about stroking a man's ego or giving him superficial compliments. They are about creating a relationship where both partners feel valued, understood, and motivated to grow together. When a man knows that his efforts are seen and appreciated, he will not only strive to be the best version of himself, but will also be more devoted to the person who believes in him. Love without admiration can feel empty. Men need to feel seen and appreciated for their strengths, efforts, and contributions. While love is the foundation of any strong relationship, it is not always enough on its own. Love may bring two people together, but admiration is what keeps the bond strong and fulfilling. A relationship where admiration is missing can start to feel routine, transactional, or even one-sided, leaving one partner feeling unseen and undervalued. For men, admiration plays a crucial role in their sense of self-worth. While women often express love through emotional connection, verbal affection, and nurturing behaviors, men often measure love by how much they are respected and valued. If a man feels deeply loved but not truly admired, he may start to question his place in the relationship. He may continue to perform his role, working hard, supporting his partner, and providing stability. But if he does not feel genuinely appreciated for these efforts, the emotional connection will slowly erode. This is why admiration is more than just a pleasant extra in a relationship. It is a necessity. Without it, men can begin to feel like they are merely fulfilling expectations rather than being valued for who they are. When love lacks admiration, it can feel conditional, based on what a man provides rather than who he is at his core. Over time, this dynamic can lead to frustration and emotional withdrawal. A man who does not feel admired may stop putting in effort, not because he does not care, but because he no longer sees the point in trying when his contributions seem to go unnoticed. On the other hand, when admiration is present, it transforms the relationship. A man who feels respected and admired is naturally more engaged, more affectionate, and more willing to go above and beyond for his partner. He sees his relationship not as an obligation, but as a place where he is valued and where his presence makes a difference. This is why a simple, heartfelt compliment, such as acknowledging his hard work, his leadership, or his ability to stay calm under pressure, can have such a profound impact. The key is that admiration must be genuine. It cannot be forced, exaggerated, or given only in moments of convenience. Real admiration comes from recognizing and appreciating a man's unique qualities, his strengths, and his character. It is about seeing him beyond the everyday routines and responsibilities and reminding him that his presence is meaningful. It is about expressing appreciation, not just for what he does, but for who he is. Many relationships struggle because one or both partners assume that love alone should be enough. But love without admiration can become passive, losing the excitement and depth that make a relationship truly fulfilling. When admiration is present, it creates an emotional connection that goes beyond just being together. It builds a foundation of mutual respect, trust, and lasting affection. A man who feels admired will not only feel more connected to his partner, but he will also feel a greater sense of purpose within the relationship. He will feel inspired to keep growing, to keep providing, and to keep investing in the bond he shares with his partner. When admiration is absent, however, even deep love can start to feel unfulfilling, leading to distance and emotional detachment. In the end, admiration is not about inflating a man's ego. It is about making him feel seen. It is about recognizing the qualities that make him unique and expressing appreciation in a way that strengthens the connection. A relationship filled with admiration is one where both partners feel valued, respected, and motivated to keep building a future together. Many women assume that love alone is enough, but failing to express admiration can lead to emotional distance in a relationship. Love is essential, but it is not the only ingredient that sustains a deep and lasting connection. While women often express love through care, affection, and nurturing, they may not realize that men experience love differently. For many men, admiration and respect are just as, if not more important than verbal expressions of love. When these elements are missing, the emotional connection can slowly begin to erode. A common mistake in relationships is believing that love is self-sustaining, that once a foundation of love is established, everything else will fall into place. But relationships require maintenance, and for men, one of the most powerful forms of emotional nourishment is feeling admired. Women may express their love through acts of service, kindness, or companionship, but if admiration is missing, a man may start to feel unappreciated or even taken for granted. He may still perform his responsibilities, still love his partner deeply, but inside he might feel a quiet sense of disappointment, as though something is missing. Men are often conditioned to be strong and self-sufficient, rarely vocalizing their emotional needs. Because of this, many women assume that men do not require verbal affirmation or expressions of admiration. Unlike women, who may openly communicate their desire for emotional closeness and reassurance, men tend to internalize their feelings. They might not ask for admiration outright, but they deeply feel its absence. Over time, this unspoken need, if unmet, can create emotional distance. A man who does not feel admired may slowly withdraw, not because he has stopped caring, but because he feels unseen and unvalued. The absence of admiration does not necessarily mean a relationship is failing, but it can create an invisible gap that weakens the emotional foundation. A woman may believe she is showing love through her actions, being present, offering support, and maintaining the household. But if she does not also express admiration for her partner's strengths and efforts, he may not feel fully connected. Love without admiration can start to feel routine, like an obligation rather than a choice. A man who does not feel respected or appreciated may begin to detach emotionally, even if he still deeply loves his partner. What makes admiration so powerful is that it does not require grand gestures. It is often the simplest words that make the biggest impact. A genuine compliment about his intelligence, his problem-solving skills, or his ability to handle challenges can go a long way. Statements like, "I really admire the way you take care of our family," or "I respect how you always find solutions, even in tough situations," can reinforce his sense of purpose and make him feel valued. These small moments of recognition can reignite emotional closeness and remind him why he is in the relationship. When admiration is absent, men may seek validation elsewhere. This does not necessarily mean infidelity, but it can manifest in other ways. Burying themselves in work, finding fulfillment in hobbies, or withdrawing into solitude. They might still love their partner, but they may stop seeking emotional intimacy within the relationship. The bond that once felt strong and passionate may slowly turn into something functional but emotionally distant. Women who recognize this and make the effort to express admiration will often see a remarkable change in their relationship. A man who feels admired will naturally become more engaged, more affectionate, and more willing to open up emotionally. He will feel a greater sense of purpose and fulfillment in the relationship, making him more invested in its long-term success. Ultimately, love alone is not always enough. While love provides the foundation, admiration strengthens the connection and keeps the relationship vibrant. Without admiration, a relationship may survive, but it will lack the depth and fulfillment that makes it truly thrive. Recognizing and expressing admiration is one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to maintain emotional closeness, ensuring that both partners feel valued and appreciated. A man who feels admired will go above and beyond for his partner, whereas a man who feels unnoticed may withdraw, even if he still cares. This fundamental truth plays a significant role in the strength and longevity of relationships. While love, care, and companionship are all essential, admiration serves as a unique form of emotional fuel for men. It motivates them to invest deeply in their relationships, to show up as the best version of themselves, and to make sacrifices willingly. Many women assume that men simply do what is expected of them, whether it be working hard, providing support, or taking on responsibilities, because it is their duty. However, duty alone is not enough to sustain long-term effort. Just like anyone else, men need to feel that their contributions matter. They need to know that what they do is seen and appreciated, not just assumed or taken for granted. When a man feels admired, he feels empowered, confident, and willing to put in extra effort to make his partner happy. Admiration does not have to come in dramatic forms. It does not require constant compliments or grand expressions of gratitude. Often, the smallest moments of recognition have the biggest impact. A simple, "I really appreciate how hard you work for us," or "I admire the way you handle challenges," can be incredibly meaningful. These words affirm his efforts, reinforcing the idea that he is making a difference in the relationship and in his partner's life. When he feels valued, he will naturally feel more inspired to keep giving, keep providing, and keep showing love in return. On the other hand, when admiration is absent, even the most dedicated man can begin to lose motivation. He may still care deeply, but if he does not feel respected or acknowledged, he may withdraw emotionally. This withdrawal is often not intentional or vengeful. It is a quiet reaction to feeling unappreciated. A man who once went out of his way to plan thoughtful dates, help with responsibilities, or support his partner's dreams may start to do the bare minimum. He may stop initiating conversations, become less affectionate, or lose the enthusiasm he once had. Many women misinterpret this withdrawal as a sign that he has stopped loving them. In reality, he may still care just as much as he always did, but he no longer feels the same sense of purpose within the relationship. Without admiration, a man can start to feel like he is simply fulfilling a role rather than being truly valued for who he is. This emotional disconnect can be the beginning of resentment, frustration, and in some cases, even the slow collapse of a relationship. One of the most common complaints among men in long-term relationships is that they feel unappreciated. They may not openly voice this concern, but it is often reflected in their behavior. A man who once put in effort to impress his partner, make her feel special, and prioritize her happiness may begin to pull back, not because he has changed, but because the relationship dynamic has. When he no longer feels that his efforts are noticed, he may subconsciously stop trying. However, when admiration is reintroduced, the shift can be remarkable. A man who feels admired will often become more attentive, more affectionate, and more willing to go the extra mile. He will feel energized in the relationship, knowing that his presence and contributions are valued. This admiration does not have to be constant or excessive, but it should be genuine. A woman who takes the time to recognize her partner's strengths and efforts will often find that he is more motivated than ever to make her happy in return. At its core, admiration is not just about making a man feel good. It is about reinforcing his emotional connection to the relationship. It serves as a reminder that his presence matters, that his efforts are not unnoticed, and that he is truly valued. When admiration is present, a man will naturally want to invest more in his partner, not out of obligation, but out of genuine love and appreciation. But when admiration is missing, even a man who cares deeply may begin to withdraw, leaving the relationship feeling distant and unfulfilling. Building strong relationships requires understanding what the other person truly needs. For men, that often includes respect, belief, and appreciation. While love is the foundation of any deep connection, it is not always enough to sustain a fulfilling relationship over time. Love without understanding the core emotional needs of a partner can sometimes fall short. Many women believe that showing love through care, nurturing, and companionship is sufficient, but for men, admiration and respect are just as, if not more important. Men by nature are driven by a desire to provide, protect, and succeed. They thrive when they feel that their efforts are meaningful and that their presence makes a difference. Unlike women, who often seek deep emotional conversations and verbal affirmations of love, men are more likely to feel connected when they are respected, admired, and appreciated. They do not always articulate this need openly, but it is deeply ingrained in their psychology. A man who feels valued and supported by his partner will naturally become more devoted, affectionate, and motivated to invest in the relationship. Many relationships start strong, filled with admiration and excitement, but over time, appreciation can fade. What was once praised and admired becomes expected, routine, or even unnoticed. A man who once felt like his efforts were celebrated may suddenly feel like they are simply taken for granted. This gradual decline in admiration can create emotional distance, even in relationships where love still exists. He may continue to care deeply, but without the reinforcement of admiration, his enthusiasm and drive may start to wane. On the other hand, when admiration and respect are consistently present, a man will feel a deeper emotional connection. Simple gestures, like acknowledging his hard work, recognizing his strengths, or expressing trust in his decisions, can have a profound impact. Statements such as, I love how you always find a way to handle difficult situations, or I admire the way you take care of our family, reinforce his sense of purpose in the relationship. These moments of recognition make him feel valued, not just for what he does, but for who he is. Building a strong relationship means going beyond just expressing love. It requires understanding how a partner receives and experiences that love. For women, emotional connection is often the most important aspect of a relationship, but for men, respect and admiration are just as vital. When these needs are met, men are not only happier, but they also become better partners. They feel more fulfilled, more motivated, and more committed to making their relationship successful. This is not about inflating a man's ego or giving him superficial praise. It is about recognizing and valuing his role in the relationship, acknowledging his strengths, and showing him that he is respected and appreciated. A woman who understands this and makes a conscious effort to express admiration will see the difference it makes, not just in her partner, but in the relationship as a whole. At the end of the day, love is not just about emotions, it is about action. It is about making a partner feel valued, seen, and appreciated in ways that truly resonate with them. For men, admiration is one of the most powerful expressions of love. A man who feels admired will not just stay in a relationship, he will thrive in it. He will go above and beyond, not out of obligation, but out of genuine love and appreciation for the person who sees and values him. So if you want to build a stronger, deeper, and more fulfilling relationship, don't just love, admire. Don't just care, appreciate, because when a man feels admired, he will show up in ways that exceed expectations, not because he has to, but because he truly wants to.